So we've been more strict recently about enforcing that my husband also puts the little one to bed. Because so most of the time, my husband puts the big one to bed. The big one has always been Dada's boy. Like, I'm just chop liver to this child.
Fair. He was the same way.
My husband?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, I've been putting the big one in bed more recently, and we're reading Harry Potter together. So that's my like. If he wants to read Harry Potter, he has to have me. And so my husband's been taking care of the little one. Well, the very first few nights of this, the little one just cried and screamed, and my husband would go, "Are you being grumpy right now?" And the little one, no. And he's like, "Are you going to be happy?" "Yeah, be happy. And so now anytime the little one is getting angry, look, my husband's just like, "Are you grumpy?" He said, "No, be happy." So, yeah.
So cute. They're so sweet.
Hey guys, it's your host Jaycee. Welcome to Queries of a Newborn Christian, the podcast where my faith is new, my questions are endless, and my curiosity could be considered my spiritual gift. Think of this podcast as Christianity 101, but with more laughs, constant detours, and a lot of confusion on my end. Grab your drink and come join me as I grow in my walk with Jesus.
Okay, you ready to get started?
We need to get started.
Yes. Okay. So, today we are covering John chapter 5. And I'm just going to throw this out there. It took me a couple of attempts to read this chapter.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. I got to like verse 24 and was just like, oh, I don't want to listen to Jesus go on a tirade right now. And that's basically how it felt, because the majority of this chapter was him, in my opinion, complaining at people, being like, "I can't help you if you don't believe," and like sort of that's kind of how I was reading it. I was like, I don't want to listen to this right now. I listen to enough complaining on a day-to-day basis. So
interesting.
So it did take me a couple of tries to read it and write down all my little notes. And the more I got into it, the more I was like, okay, I'm fine. Like, it's a good chapter. But initially I was like, compared to last chapter, which was so interesting and so juicy, this one I was like, okay. That doesn't mean pause the episode. Keep listening. We haven't even started yet.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
Yeah. But, okay, so starting with chapter 5. Oh, just kidding. 1 second. If you haven't read chapter 5, take a moment to pause the podcast. Don't get out of it. Read the chapter. It's okay.
All the way through. Don't
all the
be
way
frustrated. Like she got frustrated. You'll make it. I promise.
Don't be me. Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, take a moment to pause, read the chapter, and then meet back up with us. Okay? Okay, cool. All right, so starting chapter 5, verse 1. After this, a Jewish fest...
Wow, you're in the struggle bus today.
You know? It's fine. It's cool. Okay. Again, let me try this one more time. If I mess up this time, y'all are just going to have to deal with it. Okay. After this, a Jewish festival took place, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. By the sheep gate in Jerusalem, there is a pool called Bethesda in Aramaic, which has 5 colonnades. Within these lay a large number of the disabled, blind, lame, and paralyzed. One man who was there had been disabled for 38 years. And when Jesus saw him lying there and realized he had already been there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the disabled man answered, "I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, but while I'm coming, someone goes down ahead of me." "Get up," Jesus told him. "Pick up your mat and walk." Instantly, the man got well, picked up his mat, and started to walk. And that is verses 1 through 9.
Okay.
Just a reminder that the last chapter ended with Jesus' healing the official's son from afar. So after this has happened, and they're in Galilee. So after they're in Galilee, There's a Jewish festival, which do we know which Jewish festival this might be?
Specifically, no.
Helpful.
There's
helpful.
there's a lot of pieces to look at, because this says, depending on what version you're reading, but mine says after this, which then you have to go back to chapter 4, and it talked about the healing that you had just mentioned. And it ended with, this therefore was the second sign Jesus performed after he came from Judea to Galilee. So that was the end of chapter 4. And then chapter 5 begins after this. Well, after this is, or whatever your version says, but it's a time frame. And so we don't know what after this means. A week later, a year later, we don't know. That's at some point in time after that second sign happened, this third sign happened.
Okay, so we don't know which festival it is. But within Jerusalem, there is a gate called the Sheep Gate.
So, but it is important, I think, to say that, so there are assumptions that we can make. So, a festival. When there's a festival, a lot of people are coming.
Yes.
So you can figure, okay, so this is telling us there are a lot of people coming together for some type of commemoration, celebration, whatever. So it kind of helps to give that frame of reference. So it's not just a normal
There could
day.
be a lot of witnesses.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then you said what? Go ahead.
The Sheep Gate.
Okay.
Yes.
So what does that make you think when you hear Sheep Gate? That's so fantastic. That's what you must do to enter this gate.
I don't know. Did you know on my editing software I can add sound effects?
Can you?
Yeah. It could be like, yay, or I haven't been able to find crickets, but I want to find some crickets.
Okay.
I did use a duck the other day to bleep out your friend's name. I was like, quack. It was real good. That was a personal quack, by the way.
That's amazing.
I can do a pretty good chicken, if anybody wants to hear that.
At some point, I think they probably will.
Maybe I'll throw my chicken noise in when we get to Simon Peter cutting off someone's ear. And the cock crowing, you know. I won't do it now. I won't ruin it for you. We'll save it for a special time. I mean, I'm assuming that it's the gate in which all the livestock are brought through, so that you don't have a bunch of sheep and cows and goats and whatever being herded through other gates that are mostly foot traffic.
So it's interesting to think about it in that perspective of like, this is where they would bring the sacrifices to come through.
Yes. And I was thinking that because of
The Chosen.
The Chosen. But it's like a much later episode leading up to the crucifixion.
Okay.
But yeah, so they go in through the Sheep Gate in Jerusalem, and there's a pool called Bethesda in Aramaic. And it has 5 colonnades. And if you don't know what a colonnade is, it's a big old column. Like, think Roman architecture column. Big piece of stone. And so I'm assuming they form a circle, because it says within these lay a large number of the disabled, blind, lame, and paralyzed. Oh, the pool. Can you give some context on the Bethesda pool?
Okay, so something important to add. Bethesda means house of mercy. So I think that's interesting when it comes into this perspective of what's fixing to happen here. So they're at this pool, and so you have these colonnades, and you would assume then, so remember, there's a whole bunch of assumptions we can make by the little pieces of information that we're given.
Right.
So with the colonnades, you assume there's covering. So you have these lame people who are under covering, so it keeps them out of the elements. So they're kind of safe, secured in a place where they can't get rained on. Maybe there's shade from the sun. And then there's the And like you said, it's kind of circular or
That's just what I make the assumption when it says 5 large colonnades, or it's a pentagon. I don't know.
right, something.
But when it says within these lay, so I'm assuming it's a circle, pentagon, some form of roundish building that has a pool of water within it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, from my understanding, when we had the class a year ago, the Bethesda pool basically has for some reason, it bubbles from time to time. Like I'm going to assume, it's a pool of water at the surface that also has like a trail underground where gas can be released or something. And for whatever reason, maybe that's what it is, maybe it's not. For whatever reason, it bubbles from time to time. And these people believe that when it bubbles, the first one to get in the water will be healed of whatever ailment they have.
Mm-hmm.
As I think how you kind of explained it back in the fall last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's important to note going into this, like why this pool is important, because it seems a little random. Be like, oh, you want to go get in the water? Why?
Okay, so we've gone to like natural springs and they have a lot of minerals and things, and people say they have high medicinal qualities and it helps them to feel better to go into these springs or pools or whatever. So yes, very well could be that. There's also the thought that periodically that an angel would come and stir up the water. And
yeah.
so the first one in the water after the angel has stirred it up is the one who gets the angelic healing.
So my Bible, it says the sheep gate was one of the entrances carved in Jerusalem's city wall. The pools were actually deep stone reservoirs collecting rainwater to be used for drinking and other necessities. Water has always been a precious resource in the Middle East. The pool named Bethesda, which you said in Hebrew, house of mercy, house of flowing water, was especially prominent as it was a gathering place for the disabled and maimed because the people believed healing properties were in its waters. The tradition concerning the moving of the water is not found in exact Greek manuscripts dated prior to AD 400. This brief section may have been based on popular tradition and thus may have been added by a scribe as an effort to explain the bubbly flow of the water that occurred from time to time. This insignificant textual problem does not undercut the miracle or clear meaning of the text in any way. So yeah, I don't know. Either way, for whatever reason, rainwater, spring, whatever, this water bubbled from time to time, and people thought, that there might be healing properties within it.
Right. However, if it happens, how it happens, who knows?
See, I'm just one of those people. I'm like, oh, I want to know. We move on. So we're through the sheep gate. There's a pool called Bethesda. 5 colonnades, assuming there's a roof, keep these injured, blind, lame, whatever people out of the elements. And there was a man there who had been disabled for 38 years. That's a long time.
It is a long time.
That's more than I am.
So what assumptions can you make from that? There's a lot of information that you can make assumptions from.
I'm being influenced by The Chosen again. So in the episode where we meet Simon the Zealot, it opens with his story. And in The Chosen, I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but so spoiler alert, skip ahead if you don't want me to spoil it for you. In The Chosen, they use this opportunity. The paralytic man is Simon the Zealot's brother. So it opens, the opening, it's this man, Simon Z's, as they call him, Simon Z, his brother is climbing a tree and he falls as a child. And he breaks his back. And there's nothing they could do. He cannot, he has use of his arms, but we'll just make the assumption like hips down, they don't work. And so it kind of shows, it's this like really beautiful, like, not monologue. There's only music. There's no talking in this opening, and you just see them, they're growing up together, and then eventually Simon goes off to be a zealot, and his brother is left completely alone, and you see him at the pool, and you see him crawling and crawling and crawling over a span of years, and you see him progressively getting older, and he just never makes it to the pool in time because he's dragging his body to the pool. And, you know, say that someone else's ailment is they're blind, well, they'll just stumble down the steps and they've beat him. It was very heart-wrenching to just be like, oh, he looks so hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good episode. Let me see what episode it is. I'll find it. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, if you're interested, season 2, episode 4 is where this opening happens and where we meet Simon the Zealot. But anyway.
It's an interpretation of it.
Oh, yeah. And I know it's not, again, accurate. Like, I know that the likelihood of Simon the Zealot's brother being the paralytic man, probably not. It's just a way to kind of tie the story and all the characters together. But I do remember in the fall, like when we did this class, we were talking about what do we think his malady is. And the more I read it, the more I'm like, oh no, he definitely has to be paralyzed.
Right. Yeah. No,
because we were like,
100%.
oh, we don't know what it is, like what his malady is. But the more I read it, the more I'm like, he has to have no use of his legs with what he says. So yeah, he's been there for 38 years, and then Jesus saw him lying there and realized he'd been there a long time, and he said to him, do you want to get well? And the man responds, in verse 8, it says, Sir, the disabled man answered, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, but while I'm coming, someone goes down ahead of me.
Excuses.
Yes, we talked about that a year ago as well, that it was an excuse. It wasn't an emphatic, yes, please.
Yeah. And okay, so this is what comes to mind for me when I read this. I don't know if it's right or wrong. He's been sitting there for 38 years.
That's a really long time. But he's probably older than 38.
Exactly.
Like he could be 60.
He could
have lived a whole life and then become paralyzed, and now he's 60. We don't know.
I mean, if he was 20 years old, and there's some thoughts that I'll add later as to why I think he's older than what we think. But I mean, he's been laying there 38 years. So there's another story in the gospel about a man who also has ailments, and his friends try to bring him to Jesus. And they can't, there's the crowds all around, and they know if they can just get their friend to Jesus, Jesus can heal him. And so they climb up on the house and they tear the roof apart and they lower him down. And
that's in The Chosen too. Sorry.
And Jesus heals him.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the parallel, even from the way it was portrayed in The Chosen, what makes this man so why are people so, they don't want to be around him? Why do they not want to help him? If he's been there for 38 years.
I see what you're saying. I mean, to be fair, okay, so I'll just share some personal information. I deal with some pretty chronic back and hip issues where there are days I am just in pain pretty much all day. And those days I am very crabby. I don't mean to be, but it's hard to be in pain all the time. Especially, like, the pain never fully goes away, but there are days where it is just like, I feel like I'm being broken in half with my back issues. And so, contrary to the belief that I had for a very long time, like, if you're paralyzed, you still feel pain. Like, it's painful to be paralyzed. It's not just like, oh, I just have no feeling for some people. So we don't know, like, he might have been 38 years of being paralyzed, 38 years of being in pain, whatever the case is. That's a really long time. And they're in this pool, which if you go off the way The Chosen, like, they're just laying on a concrete floor or a stone floor.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they have a bed with very minimal cushion, but, you know, Unless you were super rich and royalty, you don't have a comfy bed like what we have these days.
Yeah.
You know, even cheap little Amazon bed in a box are better than what they had then.
Mm-hmm.
So you're sleeping on the floor. You're living off the generosity of others, I would assume, to bring you food.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably starving. Realistically, you're starving. So, I mean, I don't want to say I don't blame him if he was a crabby, hateful man, but I see it. I could understand it.
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely see both sides of it, right? I mean, it is he lives off, like you said, the generosity of other people.
Mm-hmm.
But at what point in time were people just giving him bare minimum because he'd literally been there 38 years?
And they were probably like, "Oh my gosh, why haven't you died yet?"
But nobody's willing to step out and just, how can I really help you? And so Jesus is so good at finding those people, like we talked about last week, the lady at the well who nobody wanted to walk out with her to get water.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw her. And this is just another instance of Jesus seeing somebody who has been forgotten.
That's a really good point. 38 years.
Yeah. He's just, and pushed off to the back, just probably alone, probably is grumpy, whether it's because he's hurting or because he's alone or because people are just mean. People can be mean. And he sees him. And it probably is a moment of surprise when he says, "Do you want to get better?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, there's nobody here to help me.
I mean,
I've been trying this for a long time."
But you almost, again, yeah, you can blame him, but I would be like, I don't blame you for being so skeptical after 38 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you would like to assume that maybe every once in a while someone did try to help him and they just didn't get there first. Whatever. But to struggle like that for 38 years and someone's like, "Do you want to get better?" He's probably like, duh. Of course I want to get better. Why do you think I'm here? But,
Yeah.
He's just struggling.
But the question I think Jesus is saying is, do you still have hope? Do you still want to live a life? Because he can do this. Jesus knows, hey, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you willing to do once this happens? Are you going to return back to this place?
Yeah, which eventually we'll see a little bit of that hint that you're getting at.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so he says, "I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up, but while I'm coming, someone goes down ahead of me." Which is where I go back to, he's definitely got to be very slow. If he moves at all, it's slow.
Mm-hmm.
So he's either dragging himself to the pool, and obviously if you can walk, you're going to beat him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and he has no one, like no friends, no one else is willing to try to help him. And then Jesus just tells him to get up.
Yeah.
Which
just
is crazy because he never actually said, is it because he says, "I have no hope," basically? That he's like, "Well, I'm going to prove you wrong. You're good. You're Gucci. Go on. Shoo.
Well, okay, so the way that I read it is, verse 7, "Sir," the sick man answered, "I don't have a man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up.
Mm-hmm.
But while I'm coming, someone goes down ahead of me." And what I hear from that is, no one will help me.
Right.
I'm all alone. No one will help me. And Jesus says, "Get up. I'm helping you. I'm here. I'm helping. Get up."
Yeah.
And so I know I've seen the scene you've talked about on The Chosen, and all the hoopla that they show that happens when he does that.
Like how he gets trampled trying to get there.
Yeah. Well, on the next verse, "Get up," Jesus told him, "pick up your mat and walk." Instantly the man got well. But what was that like? Was it just, there had to be atrophy of the muscles?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I tore my ACL freshman year. End of middle school going into freshman year of high school. And after my ACL surgery, I think I went for like 2 weeks having to walk on crutches and not use my leg really at all, except for a PT.
Mhm.
And my poor leg was gone. It's still never fully the same shape as my other leg. There's still, if you look, a little bit of a dent on my quad. And that was after like 2 weeks of not using my leg at all. Very minimal, like just gone.
Mhm.
So 38 years, I mean, I don't say this lightly. I feel like his legs look like a Holocaust, like skin and
Oh,
bone.
yeah.
And there's literally no muscle whatsoever. Like it's just there's nothing.
And so all of a sudden, he can just get up. Muscle has appeared.
What if he was jacked? He was just like, ooh, and big old quads on him now.
I'm sure you're right.
Sorry.
He was now the one to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my.
But yeah, so instantly he got well, picked up his mat, and started to walk. Which you're like, oh, what does the mat have to do with anything? Well, the mat was his bed.
Mm-hmm.
The mat was his, quote, home.
Yep.
That's really all, I would assume, pretty much all this man owns is his bed.
Yeah, I think that's a safe assumption.
Okay, so yeah, verse 9. Instantly the man got well, picked up his mat, and started to walk. Now that day was the Sabbath, and so the Jews said to the man who had been healed, "This is the Sabbath. The law prohibits you from picking up your mat." 11. He replied, "The man who made me well told me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" 12. "Who was this man who told you, 'Pick up your mat and walk'?" they asked. But the man who was healed did not know who it was, because Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. So there we go back to, there's a lot of people there because it's festival time. And I'm going to completely divert the other way for like 5 seconds because I just realized there's no verse 4.
Oh, we're going to go back to that?
I meant to say it earlier, but you were talking and I didn't want to be rude and interrupt. There's no verse 4. Why is there no verse 4? It goes straight from 3 to 5.
Well, it depends on your version of the text. So mine has a verse 4, but it's in parentheses, or they're not parentheses. What are they? Brackets.
The square ones?
Yeah,
Yeah.
brackets.
What does it say?
It says, waiting for the moving of the water, because an angel would go down into the pool from time to time and stir up the water. Then the first one who got in after the water was stirred up recovered from whatever ailment he had.
Well, that would have been nice. Come on, CSB. Why? Why wouldn't you give that information? That's annoying.
I don't know. It just added a little context there. I don't know. Maybe. I think what I had read actually was that it was not in the original text.
Hmm.
And so some included it and some excluded it.
Okay. Anyway, sorry. I had to go off on that tangent because I was like, why is there no verse 4?
Yeah, this says, and it is not affirmed that the angel did this visibly or that they saw him do it. They judged by the effect. And when they saw the waters agitated, they concluded that they had healing properties and descended to them. And then the Jews were in the habit of attributing all favors to the ministry of angels of God.
Interesting.
And then this explanation kind of goes on to talk about medicinal properties and how a lot of them, we talked about that. Waters have medicinal properties and whatever, but could it be an angel? We don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so back to verse 9. So all of this happened, Jesus healing this paralytic man, all of this happened on the Sabbath, which you said was Saturdays actually, not Sundays.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why do we do Sundays?
Because the Sabbath, it's in the New Testament, and I'd have to look up the scripture, but it talks about the day of the Lord being Sunday, which we then take it as Sunday because the Sabbath was, I don't know. There's a scripture in the New Testament that talks about it, and I would just have to look it up.
Okay.
But it is New Covenant, it is New Testament church, because the Sabbath is what the Jews honor. And I think it was the day that the Lord ascended, or the Lord was raised. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah, we're going to go with that.
Okay. Okay, well, whatever. Either way, that day was the Sabbath, which was the day that the Jews said, you don't do any work. You rest.
Yes.
And And so the Jews, so verse 10 it says, and so the Jews said to the man who had been healed, this is the Sabbath, the law prohibits you from picking up your mat. And I'm assuming when it says the Jews, it's talking like Pharisees or Sadducees are getting on to him. Probably not just common people, but I would also assume it would say the Pharisees.
Yeah. We have to assume there's a lot of people there because it's a festival, a Jewish festival. And so Festival. We're all struggling, all right? How much editing are you going to do this?
A lot, apparently. Don't worry, I leave some of the funny stuff in festival.
So they're at this festival, and there's so many people.
We should do an entire episode doing a different accent every day.
I don't think I could make it all the way through.
No?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Anyways, we are not going to get through this.
No, we're not.
In a timely manner.
Nope.
We got to keep moving. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of people around, and they see this happen, and they're like, hey, you're breaking the rules. I mean, I feel like you're right in that if it was a Pharisee or a Sadducee or a leader, they would have said, this is who it was.
But why can you not pick up your mat and walk? Because, like, I understand the idea of, like, today is a day of rest and that the Jews had a really hard time with not taking things too far.
Yeah.
In an attempt to not ever sin. But just to get up and stand and walk across your living room, like, you use muscles, you use energy, like, you can't go your day, and you cannot go throughout your day unless you just lay in bed all day without doing some form of exertion. So what is it about picking up your mat that is a no-no?
It is kind of what you said earlier about this is probably everything he owns. So essentially he's packed up his entire house and he's moving on. And so he's working. He's carrying a burden, which is seen as work.
Right.
And that is against the rules.
Interesting. Well, so they're questioning him, and then the man responds, the man who made me well told me, basically said he told me to. He told me to pick it up and go. And I kind of read it as, he told me to pick up my mat and walk, so why wouldn't I follow the directions of someone who healed me after 38 years?
Exactly.
And then it just blew my mind that these Jews, these random people, I don't say these Jews in a negative way, it's just like that's how they're described. The Jews just got angry. They were like, well, this is some hot garbage. And you're like, he performed a miracle and you're mad because he did it on the Sabbath?
Yeah. Okay, so here's a thought. I don't know if it's right, but it was just something as I was reading through this, I was like, we don't know what happened with this guy, what his sin was. We'll read a little bit more of that in a minute.
Right.
What made him disabled, okay? So let's say it was something inappropriate in society. And now he's paralyzed from the waist down. He can't get up. He can't do whatever the thing was.
Oh, maybe that's why no one ever helped him.
Yeah.
He was a piece of doo-doo.
And so that he's stuck there. He can't do that anymore. He can't be a menace to society. Nobody wants to help him get back in there. And now all of a sudden he's healed and they're like, we had this figured out.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
We had our own, like, this was his punishment. And we're not going to help him because he was hurting everybody else around us, around him. So now he's up and walking around, and he did it on the Sabbath. Not only that, he's done it on the Sabbath. Like,
so I'll say what I'm thinking, but I'm going to read the rest of this little section first. So, yeah, we ended with verse 12. Who is this man who told you pick up your mat and walk? They asked. But the man who was healed did not know who it was because Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. Verse 14. After this, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, see, you are well. Do not sin anymore so that something worse doesn't happen to you. The man went and reported to the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well. Therefore, the Jews began persecuting Jesus because he was doing these things on the Sabbath.
Okay.
So I get your theory. The thought that I had was this is just further proof that he comes for everyone
Yes.
and not just the people who have tried to live a good life, quote, air
Yes.
quotes. Because as we've talked about, good and bad and morality, whatever, they're like more human constructs, kind of. Like, I mean, God is good, but like, what we define as good is not necessarily good.
Right.
That is an interesting theory, though, that this might have been this man's punishment. Because it says, so Jesus finds, okay, so let me back up. This, like, Jesus does this and then dips.
Yeah.
He's like, you're better now. And then he runs away. He leaves. He slithers off into the crowd and nobody knows where he goes. But he never says his name. He was never like, my name's Jesus. Nice to meet you. He just does it and then disappears. And so they have no idea that it's Jesus who did this. So the Jews question the man. And what I see that's interesting is he gets healed. And then what it reads as is he immediately goes to the temple.
Yeah.
Like Jesus, you don't see Jesus say, go to the temple and I'll meet you there. Or anything like that. Like he has this healing, this miraculous thing happens to him, and then he goes to the temple. And there is where Jesus finds him in the temple. And he talks to him again. And it's clear he either tells him his name or the Jews are still, the Jews are also in the temple and the man points Jesus out. One of the two.
Isn't the pool in the temple complex somewhere?
I don't know. I don't know if I have a map of Jerusalem somewhere.
I mean, obviously on the outer skirts, like because he's disabled, he can't go into, the inner areas with men who didn't have this type of imperfections.
It's not in the temple.
Is it outside?
So, looking at my Bible,
I don't have a map in my Bible of that.
It's in the very back on mine.
Oh.
So if you look at the map I sent you, it's Bethesda is more in the like northeastern quadrant-ish of the city. So the sheep gate's on the outside of the city, and then there's the pool of Bethesda. And then the temple, it's like semi-close, but it's not right there. It's not in the temple. So,
oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Point being, he does physically have to leave the pool and go to the temple. And after 38 years of lying by the pool, he had to find his way to the temple.
He finally gets to go to the celebration, the festival.
The festival.
The festival with everybody.
But so
he gets
does.
to go do it.
That's where I'm like, maybe he's not. Maybe this was like a turning point in his life. I don't know, because he doesn't immediately go try to, from what we know, steal some food because he's hungry. He doesn't go try to like pickpocket somebody to get some money to buy some new clothes or new shoes or whatever. He goes, from what we see, straight to the temple. And that's where Jesus finds him. And, he says, see, you are well. Do not sin anymore so that something worse doesn't happen to you. And that's where I wonder, like, do not sin anymore. So I think it's a safe assumption that maybe whatever his ailment was, it was due to something he did that was not good, like you said. But the whole, so that something worse doesn't happen to you, I was like, seems a little spooky.
I mean, yeah, but he didn't die the first time. He could die the second time. Whatever it was he was doing. And is Jesus talking physical or is he talking spiritual?
That is also true.
So, it's hey, I've made you whole. I've forgiven your sin. I've healed you. Go and be a good person and follow me and, whatever, and don't sin again.
What if there was a special place in hell for the people who Jesus himself healed? And then we're like, I'm going to do me.
I mean, I guess it's possible.
That would be bad.
That would be really bad.
Anyway, so my annoyance is that verse 15, the man went and reported to the Jews that it was Jesus who made him well. Therefore, the Jews began persecuting Jesus because he was doing these things on the Sabbath. So that does make me think that maybe your theory is not correct, where they were like, well, we had him all situated. This was his punishment, because it states the reason they were mad is because it happened on the Sabbath.
Yeah.
Not that he was a criminal or whatever.
It's this is what's given, but maybe it could be both.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. I just thought it was crazy that he tattled. Whoever this man was, he tattled.
I mean, yeah, but I kind of feel like, because you were talking about the people who possibly got healed and then were like, yeah, no. But if you've been laying there for 38 years and Jesus heals you, and they were just like, we put inflection on it. So, hey, who healed you?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was just like, so who's doing this on the Sabbath?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it could just have been like, sounded like a genuine question. I don't know. Then he's like, hey, I found out who it was. And all these people, like, he hasn't had friends. He hasn't been able to make friends. He hasn't been able to be around people. He hasn't been able to go to the temple. He hasn't been able to do any of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And now he has information to give.
Right. Yeah. No, I guess I could see that. So, yeah, verse 16, it seems like maybe the Jews are just mad at Jesus because he was doing these things on the day of rest. But then it says in 17, I'll just start reading in 17. Verse 17, Jesus responded to them, which makes me think, oh, he's standing here. So maybe the guy's like, oh, it's him. Guys, it's him. Like jumping up and down.
Yeah.
And Jesus is like, oh, crap. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so verse 17, Jesus responded to them, my Father is still working, and I am working also. This is why the Jews began trying all the more to kill him. Not only was he breaking the Sabbath, but he was even calling God his own Father, making himself equal to God. And I was so confused. I wrote down, this is 17 and 18. Verse 18, I wrote down, God doesn't rest. Did he only rest the one day after creation and like he just never rests again?
So we have this idea of so what is rest? I guess that's the question. What do you think rest is?
I mean, we kind of talked about it last week. That rest is just stopping what you're doing and like stepping away from it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say in a human way, rest is really just like giving your body time to recuperate, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, whatever. Like you need a moment away from whatever is exhausting you.
Yeah, kind of a reset.
Mm-hmm.
So Genesis 2, because, everything goes back to Genesis.
Oh, here we go again.
Genesis chapter 2, verse 2. By the seventh day, God completed his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done. God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, for on it he rested from his work of creation.
So he stopped creating.
Yeah, that doesn't say he stopped doing everything. It says he stopped creating.
Right.
But I think somewhere in the New Testament, I'd have to Google it because I don't know it right off the top of my head, but talks about it is through God that the earth is the power and the energy and that the earth is maintained.
Mm-hmm.
And if he rested, all of that would stop.
Interesting.
I'm gonna have to look it up because now I feel like that sounds stupid.
Okay. So I'll just continue while you look that up. It seems like they were like, oh, I'm going to find this man who's working on the Sabbath. And then Jesus brings up this whole, my Father is still working and I am working also. And then they get real mad and decide that they're going to try to kill him because he's calling God his Father. So was it not normal prior to Jesus for them to say God the Father? Because we all say like, our Father who art in heaven, like everyone calls God Dad. You know what I mean?
Well, they don't say God because they revere God as holy, so holy that they don't say his name.
But so Jesus didn't say God, he just said my Father.
Yeah, which would then, because, okay, let me read to you what.
Explain it to
Man.
me like I'm stupid, because I just don't understand why this is a good reason to want to kill somebody.
So let me go back.
Are we going back to Genesis?
Yep.
Okay.
If God was above the Sabbath regulations, so was Jesus. And that's Matthew 12, 1 through 14. What is more, even the Jews made exceptions to the rule prohibiting work on the Sabbath, most notably in cases where circumcision occurred on a Sabbath.
Okay.
So we're talking about that. So there's that. In verse 18, which is what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
So making himself equal with God seemed to violate Old Testament teaching that there is only one God. Thus, the Jewish leaders accused Jesus of blasphemy, which became the primary charge leveled against Jesus before Pilate.
Okay. I kind of see that, I guess, where he's like, I'm above the law, just like God is. I can still work on the Sabbath. So I kind of see that. But I still don't understand this whole. So I'll just read it again. This is why the Jews began trying all the more to kill him. Not only was he breaking the Sabbath, so we got that, breaking the Sabbath, telling people he's healing, telling people to pick up their mat and walk, do work, whatever. But he was even calling God his own father. That's the one that I'm like, I don't understand why that would make you so angry. And then making himself equal to God. How does calling God your father make you equal to God? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think it goes back to the Old Testament, like how the culture at the time would have viewed it as the oldest son. Essentially, when the father dies, well, he's now the patriarch of the family. And so they believe in one God, one true God. And now here's this guy saying, well, he's my father, so I'm equal to him.
Mm.
And they see it as now there's two of them, but there's only one God because they don't understand a triune God.
Okay, that makes more sense. Because I guess I'm just struggling, like I said, like, you pray and you're like, Father God, or, our Father who art in heaven, it's common, I feel like this day and age, to refer to God as Father.
Mm-hmm.
We joked about it in one of the first episodes of, it's hard to have a relationship with God when you've got daddy issues,
Yeah.
And so I guess that makes more sense now, because I'm like, I don't understand why this makes them so mad.
It feels dishonoring to them
Mm,
because God is who he is.
right.
And he is the only one. The Messiah is going to come, but he's going to come differently.
Okay, so yeah, basically the Jews they're mad. They're not happy folks anymore. Not that they ever were, but they're real mad now. So moving on to verse 19, Jesus replied, "Truly I tell you, the Son is not able to do anything on his own, but only what he sees the Father doing. For whatever the Father does, the Son likewise does these things. For the Father loves the Son and shows him everything he is doing, and he will show him greater works than these, so that you will be amazed. And just as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, so the Son also gives life to whom he wants. The Father, in fact, judges no one, but has given all judgment to the Son, so that all people may honor the Son just as they honor the Father. Anyone who does not honor the Son does not honor the Father who sent him." And that is about where I started to go, and we didn't make it to verse 24 or 5, whatever it was, where I stopped writing down notes the other day as I tried to read through this.
I thought it was funny because you were like, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Oh, yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Okay, but taking it back to the context of what I just said, when they're like, this is who God is, he's so holy, we don't even say his name. Now you're saying you're his son, and he's telling you all these things, and he's telling you what to do, and you're just doing the things that he's telling. So now you're saying you have a direct line to God. When he's saying all these things, I feel like their blood is boiling. He's just talking, and they're just getting more and more angry because they're just like, how could you come in here and say these things when you are supposed to be such a good teacher?
And he's doing it in the temple.
And he's doing it in the temple.
This is my Father's house.
That's right.
Okay, so yeah, truly I tell you, the Son is not able to do anything on his own, but only what he sees the Father doing. And so I wrote down Jesus imitates God. But it's like, okay, I guess I take things really, really literally sometimes. What?
Say it ain't so.
What a lovely face you just made. That's right. Zoom on into that face. But when it says the Son is not able to do anything on his own, but only what he sees the Father doing, I'm sitting there like, when I'm trying to read it and trying to process, I'm like, okay, so God walked him through step by step how to go talk to the Samaritan woman. God walked him through step by step how to go heal this man. Like, is God having to hold Jesus' hand throughout everything he ever does? And I know that's me taking it super literally, but I'm just like, oh, I don't get it.
I feel like it's showing that Jesus has such a relationship with God that it's saying, essentially, there is nothing that I do that would be apart from what God's will would be.
Mm-hmm.
We are so in tune to each other that I'm only going to do what he wants me to do because I know him so intimately.
Yeah, so for whatever the Father does, the Son likewise does these things. For the Father loves the Son and shows him everything he is doing, and he will show him greater works than these so that you will be amazed. Which I'm sure that really made them mad when he said that the Father loves me.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had their undies in a big old wad if they wore them. They had a big old wedgie with that one. Okay, so yeah, they're angry that Jesus is claiming God loves him. I don't know. This is just the part where it starts, and literally, like I wrote the question mark where I'm just like, I have a good reading comprehension, but I'm just like, I feel like he's not speaking in riddles, but he's almost speaking weirdly enough where I'm like, can you just be a little bit more plain? Where my taking it literally doesn't mean something completely different.
It's just the okay, let's go back to the author, John.
Yes.
And why is John writing this?
To prove Jesus is God.
Yes. To choose. Yes. Those
Is that what it sounded like?
Yes. No. I just can't talk either. So, to show who Jesus is.
Yes.
That Jesus is God.
Yes.
So, in this process, it is understanding, he is showing that we understand who God is. Now, understand the relationship of who Jesus is to God.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about you already know, God can do all these things. He can heal people and he can, what does it say? Well, it says the Father judges no one. But it's just showing that they've always been together, but now I'm here. This is who I am. I have the authority that God has given me.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see it. You're going to be amazed.
Right. So he talks about, he says, the Father loves the Son and shows him everything he is doing, and he will show him greater works than these so that you will be amazed.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, that's where I'm just like, can you just be plain? Like, what is God going to show Jesus so that you will be amazed? Because it's Jesus doing the miracles, right? See, this is where I just don't know if my brain's interpreting or understanding the rest of this chapter, really, the way it's supposed to be.
Well, if you go on to the next verse, so he says, the Father will show the Son greater things than this to do, then you will be amazed. The Father raises the dead and gives them life. In the same way, the Son gives life to those he wants to. Okay, so we think of that and we're like, oh, he's going to raise people from the dead.
Yeah, I wrote down, has anyone been raised yet?
And is that what he's saying? Or is he talking about a spiritual?
I don't know. He doesn't say. He can't be just plain and just be like, in a spiritual sense, God raises people. Like, why is it all got to be so confusing? Your girl's stupid over here.
No, I think it's just that we want everything to be easy and we want it to be face value. And when you get to something like this where you go, okay, what And it is that point where you have to stop and go, okay, I'm going to dig into this a little bit more because I'm struggling to wrap my brain around it.
And that's why I stopped reading, because I was like, my brain is not comprehending any of this. From verse 19 on, my brain was like, nope, peace out, I'm done. That coffee you just had didn't do anything for you.
So I was just teaching Revelation. We just finished
Mm-hmm.
our
You just
class.
finished
The class. And I was telling the ladies in my class that I would pick up my book to start working.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately I'd be like, I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
That happens to me every single day when my husband leaves. I'm good. And then he gets ready to leave and I'm like, and then he comes back and I'm good. And then it's time to get them in bed. I'm like, So yeah.
And so I had to stop and ask myself, am I really tired? When it came to a point where this was happening all the time, I'm like, okay, now what is going on here? Am I really tired? And the answer was no. My brain knew I was fixing to work on something that was incredibly challenging. And it is that it's easier just to turn it off and to look at something different than to do the hard work and try to understand.
Way to call me out, because after 24, I was like, I'm done, closed it, left, and was like, I need a brain break. I'm going to go to Hobby Lobby.
Hey, I'm not saying that that's not good either, because there are times when you literally do need to walk away and come back with a refreshed brain. But I'm just saying, like, I have noticed that, and part of that is the self-discipline of, it's not self-discipline, it's spiritual discipline of, okay, if I have to take this line by line, that's what I'm going to do, because it's not impossible. God did not make these scriptures impossible for us to understand. So we just walk through it line by line. And if at this moment it's not making sense, then maybe this is not where your brain is at the moment. So you come back to it maybe a month from now, maybe a year from now. And then all of a sudden you'll have a light bulb moment and go, okay, why was this so hard for me?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that through Revelation. Was like, why have I struggled so much trying to understand this? Okay, well, this makes complete sense. And I've read it a number of times.
Right.
Not that all of Revelation made complete sense, but we were able to get through it.
That's where I'm at. I'm struggling with this chapter. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, just verse 21, just as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, so the Son also gives life to whom he wants. The Father, in fact, judges no one, but has given all judgment to the Son, so that people may honor the Son just as they honor the Father. Anyone who does not honor the Son does not honor the Father who sent him. And so I see the point to the Trinity of, like, Jesus and God are one. I don't really see the Holy Spirit necessarily being mentioned here, but, like, it's kind of along those lines of, if you don't honor God, or if you don't honor me, you're not honoring God, because I am God.
Mm-hmm.
Why does it say that he's given all judgment to the Son? Like, has he just kind of, like, thrown his hands up and be like, peace out. You got it, dude. You can handle it. Because my thought process was, Jesus can't be everywhere all at once like God can. At least not right now while he's in human form.
Right.
So how is he judging everyone else who he can't get to at the moment?
Well, and I mean, does that mean at that moment, he was judging every single person?
Well, I mean, it's just saying he's given all judgment to the Son.
Let's see, that's verse 22.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me find somebody smarter than me and look at some of these. So what these commentaries are essentially saying is, so this is an exposition of the entire Bible, this particular one. And we're talking specifically about this verse. And it says, without the Son, which is another proof of their equality, the Father judges no man. For that he does judge is certain. He is the judge of the whole earth. He is God that judges in the earth, or governs the world with his Son, who works together in the affairs of providence. He judged and condemned the old world, but not without his Son, who by his Spirit, or in his divine nature, went and preached to the spirits now in prison, then disobedient in the times of Noah. He judged and condemned Sodom and Gomorrah, but not without the Son. For Jehovah the Son reigned from Jehovah the Father fire and brimstone upon the cities and consumed them. Like it goes on and just gives just different examples of judgment throughout the Old Testament. And they're just saying from that time, the Son was always present with God. And so now he's saying, and I'm here. Well, that was God doing that. Well, now I'm here to do that here. And let's see. This one, I'm like, they seriously don't use any periods. So I'm like, where can I start a new sentence? When he comes the second time, he will then raise the dead that everyone may receive for the things they have done as Father, whether good or evil. He will gather all nations before him. So this was talking way in times that he's going to judge. This says, these words are not to be taken as though they simply denied that God governed the world, but rather they deny that he governed as the Jews imagined it, who separate the Father from the Son. The Father does not govern the world, but only in the person of his Son being made manifest in the flesh. And that Jesus came not to do his own will. And then we see some other examples of that. But it's just another, I think you can't separate all these texts and just go through, I think, line by line. You have to see it as a whole, because this is like this whole commentary of Jesus just saying it over and over. Listen to what I'm telling you, because mine says, I assure you, but old literature says, verily, verily, I say to you. But what he's saying is like, listen to what I'm saying. Like he's being very direct with what he's saying, because he's trying to get them to understand it's a Sabbath. There are all these people there for this holiday. And he's saying, listen to me. I'm telling you, as many people as I possibly can, I and the Father are one. I don't do anything separate from him. We do this together. He has sent me to be here in the flesh to show you, well, to be that sacrifice for you. Now, he hasn't said that to them at this point, but he's just trying to show them that he has been sent by God. And because, I mean, they're already mad. So how much worse is it going to be?
Eventually, a lot worse.
Eventually, a lot worse. But, I mean, it's just the whole point of, I'm just telling you this over and over. I don't know how else to tell you. I didn't come to, like, God's not judging you. He's given that to me because I and the Father are one.
Well, continuing. So verse 24, truly I tell you, anyone who hears my word and believes him who sent me has eternal life and will not come under judgment, but has passed from death to life. Truly I tell you, an hour is coming and is here now where the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. For just as the Father has life in himself, so also he has granted to the Son to have life in himself. And he has granted him the right to pass judgment, because he is the Son of Man. Do not be amazed at this, because a time is coming when all who are in the graves will hear his voice and come out. Those who have done good things to the resurrection of life, but those who have done wicked things to the resurrection of condemnation. I can do nothing on my own. I judge only as I hear, and my judgment is just, because I do not seek my own will, but the will of him who sent me. And I mean, this just kind of builds on, this verse 24 through 29.
Okay.
That's where I stopped reading the other day, but this makes more sense. I don't know what it is about verses 19 through 23-ish where I was like, my brain just cannot comprehend this right now. But yeah, so 24, anyone who hears my word and believes him who sent me has eternal life. So basically, he's just reiterating, in my opinion, my understanding, that if you believe in me, you believe in God. Like, you can't believe in God but not believe in me.
Yeah.
And then moving on to 25, an hour is coming and is now here where the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God. So they'll hear Jesus' voice, and those who hear will live.
Okay, so what kind of dead is that talking about?
See, I don't know, because what I wrote down in my handy-dandy notebook was those who believed in a coming Messiah, ? So in the moment when I was writing this stuff down, and at this point, like I said, I had come back to it, I assumed it was anyone who had died prior to Jesus, who didn't know that Jesus was Messiah. They just had faith that one was coming. So that's where my interpretation went, was anyone who had never had the opportunity to accept Jesus. They just had faith that, like Noah,
Yeah.
we'll say, like that Noah would have been included in this. That's what my brain said. Is my brain right? I don't know. My brain's pretty stupid.
No, I mean, I think possibly. And remember, we go back to there are some things that we can't understand. Like we can get a good grasp on it or whatever, but are we going to be able to fully comprehend exactly what this means? I don't know, because I would say, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting. It says an hour is coming and is now here when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. Okay, so if you say those who are physically dead are now going to hear this,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're going to live, or is he saying those who are spiritually dead are going to hear the voice of the Son of God,
Mm-hmm.
and those who hear, because there's a difference, right, between just like, oh yeah, there was this noise, but I actually listened to it. So what he's saying is the people who actually hear it, take it in, comprehend it,
Right.
they are going to live.
I mean, yeah, that also makes sense, but it could be both.
Yeah? Because he's really good at doing that.
Just be more plain. Make it easy to understand, please. So verse 26, for just as the Father has life in himself, so also has he granted to the Son to have life in himself. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the way that these people have not rewritten, but like translated. It just seems very like you could say this so much more plainly. That's one thing I'm not very good with, is when you take 30 words to say a 5-word sentence.
Yeah.
Plain and simple, please. So yeah, that's just a verse 26. I don't really get. I get that like God is the power, the motor behind life.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, like, I mean, he created everything, and Jesus was also there, so he also has life. Is that just what it's saying, or am I making a mountain out of a molehill? A molehill, molehill,
Hill.
hill, hill.
That's how people say it. Hill.
Okay.
It has 2 syllables in my vernacular. It's heel.
Molehill,
Heel.
hill. I feel slap happy right now. My brain is not here today.
So, well, okay. It is going back to this verse.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go back to the beginning of John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and he was with God in the beginning. All things were created through him, and without him nothing was created.
I just want y'all to know that she just spewed all that from memory.
I don't know if it's 100% right, but what he's saying is, remember I told you all of this. John's saying, remember I told you all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Jesus is saying that.
Mm-hmm.
This is all, I was with God in the beginning. He has given me like this physical life, but I've had life. I've been a part of this from the beginning.
Right. Well, so verse 27, he goes on and he says, he has granted him the right to pass judgment because he is the Son of Man. So, Son of Man, that's one thing, that's another one of those things I'm like, I don't get it. That every time he uses the phrase Son of Man, like in The Chosen particularly is what I'm thinking of. Every time he uses the phrase, I am the Son of Man, everybody gets their panties in a wad. Immediate wedgie.
Mm-hmm.
Like they all just get so angry. This is another, father situation where I'm like, I don't get it. Why are you so upset? You are the son of a man. You are the daughter of a man. What is it about Son of Man that makes you so angry? I could more understand them being mad about the term, I'm the Son of God,
Mm-hmm.
What is it about Son of Man that gets them so frumpy?
Let's see what some of my references say. But, and that's where I'm not 100% sure is, like, was there a difference in translation? Like, was there a translation that doesn't say Son of Man? Maybe it says Son of God?
I mean, I know, like I said, in The Chosen, that's one of the phrases that Jesus will use that really gets under everyone's skin. And they basically say that it's blasphemy. But when I think man, I think human. So I don't see how saying I'm the son of a human man, whatever, is so wrong. And I know that I probably am like, oh, there was this prophecy that I know nothing about because I really haven't read the Bible, so I don't get it. But I don't know. I just don't understand why Son of Man is one of those like immediate hackle raisers.
So in Daniel chapter 7, I believe it is I'm going to look it up, but I think it's verse 13. So let me go to that. So that title, so just doing a quick look-see, is only used by Jesus. It's only claimed by Jesus. Whereas the Son of God has been used by other people. So verse 13, Daniel chapter 7, verse 13 says, I continued watching in the night visions, and I saw one like a son of man coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days, those are all capital letters, and was escorted before him. So Ancient of Days, more than likely being God, and he was escorted before him. So they would have known this scripture of being the Son of Man.
But what does the Son of Man mean?
So then reading on, it says, and this is just in my notes, it says, although some have maintained that the Son of Man is the Archangel Michael or a collective personification of the holy ones of the Most High, this one is none other than the divine Messiah himself, who will fulfill the destiny of humanity. Jesus understood it to be a messianic title, and he used it to speak of himself. Later rabbis saw it as one of the names of the Messiah. So if they're saying, if they understand it at that time to be one of the names of the Messiah, and Jesus is calling himself the Son of Man, he's claiming he's the Messiah, they understood that, and so now they're really, really mad.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, again, that makes more sense. But when you don't have that context, and again, I don't sit here and look it up on my own time because then I wouldn't have questions to ask Heidi during the podcast.
Okay, but would you look it up?
I've looked things up. Thank you very much.
I'm not saying you're not capable. Have I made you lazy? Maybe this is not what it should be.
No.
Because now you're like, I'm not going to look anything up. I'll just ask her. I don't have to dig and figure this out for myself.
I mean, if I didn't have you, then I would look it up. But the whole point of the podcast is I ask you the question, so I don't want to look it up and spoil it for myself. What if Google is wrong? I don't know. This is Heidi's opinion, remember?
That's right. There's no factual information here. It's all opinion.
Exactly. Okay, so Son of Man equals Messiah title.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes more sense. Son of Man still does not scream Messiah to me, but whatever.
Yeah.
We'll just let it go. Verse 28, do not be amazed at this, because a time is coming when all who are in the graves will hear his voice and come out. Those who have done good things to the resurrection of life, but those who have done wicked things to the resurrection of condemnation. So maybe you were right earlier where it says the dead. He's talking spiritual dead, still alive, because later we're going to talk about the people who are dead.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I could have just kept reading. That seems to happen a lot.
What?
I could just continue to read and answer my own questions.
I mean...
But to be fair, I did read all of this. I'm assuming that this is referring to the rapture. Maybe.
Which part?
This verse 28, or no, sorry, verse 29, and just kidding. 28 and 29. Verse 28, 29, do not be amazed at this, because a time is coming when all who are in the grave will hear his voice, meaning if you're in the grave, you're dead. You'll hear Jesus' voice. And if you were a good little boy, you're going to go to heaven. And if you were bad, you're going to hell.
Yeah, I mean, it's saying there's going to be a time of judgment.
Right. But is that like resurrection, or is that just, or not resurrection, rapture?
This is not referring to the rapture.
It's not. It's just a general, like, eventually.
There will be there's a number of different types of judgment things that happen in the end. So those who believe in the rapture believe that Christ is a trumpet will sound, and those who believe in Jesus will be caught up in the clouds with him. So he's not coming all the way to the earth. We are meeting him in the clouds. Then there'll be a second coming where Jesus actually comes to the earth, and there'll be a battle. At the end, then there'll be some other things that happen, whatever. And then there'll be a great white throne judgment. So and that will be a different time. So when you'll have this judgment of the good things and those who have done wicked things.
So
that's the way I would explain it.
Do you think that anyone who's already dead, like they've already been sorted?
No.
Do you think you get sorted when you die, or we're still waiting to be sorted? Because is that not purgatory?
No, I mean, and I don't have a good understanding of purgatory, but what I believe, so here's what I believe. I'll just tell you what I believe, and then you can decide for yourself. Yay. So what I believe is that when I accepted Christ, I was sealed by the Holy Spirit at that point in time. I am held in the palm of his hand, and I cannot be taken from him. I belong to him. I mess up and I do things, and I repent for the things that I've done, thought, said, whatever. But in the end, what I want to do while I'm here is serve him and to spread his word. Now, so when I die, Scripture says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. That's what I believe, whatever that looks like. So in the end, so I'm with Jesus, but in the end, it's this idea of there will be a time of judgment, but it's not am I going to go to heaven or am I going to go to hell? It is the judgment for the good works that I've done, which is a different type of judgment. So I've already been sorted, like you were talking about, but now I still go through a type of judgment, but it shouldn't be a scary judgment.
This is where we go back to, we've talked about in the past, like you don't have to do good works to be saved and go to heaven, but you in your opinion, it kind of affects where you'll be in heaven, right? Kind of? No? Am I getting that wrong?
It talks about
it's all
crowns.
Very confusing.
Yeah, I haven't done a thorough, in-depth study of all of it, but it talks about crowns and that you'll receive crowns for different crowns for different things, and those are your rewards. Well, in order to receive the reward, you have to be judged according to your works to receive the reward. Now, what am I going to do with the reward if I'm in heaven and it's perfect and, now I'm getting a crown? Well, why would I want all these crowns? Well, the idea is that now I have this crown that I can lay at the feet of Jesus.
You mean you don't want to wear 20 crowns stacked on top of each other and you basically look like Marge Simpson with really, really tall hair?
Let me think about that. No. No, sure. And I think that I don't know. I feel like that when this happens, it's going to happen so quickly. The judgment, and it's not going to be an ongoing long thing, but it's going to be everybody.
So picking back up on verse 30, I can do nothing on my own. I judge only as I hear, and my judgment is just because I do not seek my own will, but the will of him who sent me. Again, just hammering home that Jesus does all things through God. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. 31, if I testify about myself, my testimony is not true. There is another who testifies about me, and I know that the testimony he gives about me is true. You sent messengers to John, and he testified to the truth. I don't receive human testimony, but I say these things so that you may be saved. John was a burning and shining lamp, and you were willing to rejoice for a while in his light. I wrote down for verse 31, why? Why is his testimony not true? He's Jesus. He can't lie. That would be a sin.
Oh, they're not believing him. You got to remember the audience.
Oh. See, this, again, I keep going back to the fact that I'm kind of taking it literally.
Well, you take it personally. today. I want this to be in my time frame today. And so you have to put yourself in the context of the original audience and as they're hearing it. And if he's like standing there saying all these things and they're already in this mindset of blasphemer.
I guess that's true.
And now he's saying, if I testify about myself, my testimony is not valid, which in that point in time, if I tell you something about me, you're not going to believe me.
Right. They probably think he's just making it all up. He's crazy.
And you have to have witnesses.
Which he does talk about his witness. There is another who testifies about me, and I know that the testimony he gives about me is true. You sent messengers to John, and he testified to the truth. And again, we're not talking about John. We're talking about John the Baptist.
Right.
I don't receive human testimony, but I say these things so you may be saved. What does that mean? I don't receive human testimony, but I say these things so that you may be saved.
I mean,
John's a human. He's giving his testimony.
Okay, let's see. What does your study Bible say?
I don't know. Hold on.
You didn't
I'll
read
find it? No. So part of the reason I didn't read it super in depth, my study Bible, it gives notes on chapter 5, verses 1 through 18, and then chapter 5, verse 16 through 47. So it does not break it down very well. So I'll just read all of 16 through 47, like what it says.
Okay.
So Jesus' disregard for Sabbath regulations was not the only thing upsetting the Jewish religious leaders. They actually sought his life because of his calling God his own father, thus making himself equal to God. John, of course, states his own purpose as showing that Jesus is indeed the Son of God. The parallel between the Son and the Father is continually asserted by John. Never is the Son purported to be in charge of the Father, but he is sent by the Father, obedient to the Father, committed to glorifying the Father. The Son was given the power by the Father to render judgment. Jesus describes his relationship with the Father as being one in which he is ontologically, which is parentheses, of the same essence or being, equal to the Father, yet functionally subordinate to him, which we've kind of talked about that when we talked about the Trinity in the past. That they're the same, but like the hierarchy of it all.
Yeah.
And then it goes on to say, human action is a manifestation of human commitment, verse 29. But there is no hint of a salvation by works. These verses are among the few, what are with these big words? Hold on. These verses are among the few eschatological.
Oh, that's close. Eschatological.
Okay. References.
Prophetical.
Okay. Well, these verses are among the few eschatological references in John. Okay, whatever. That's a really big word for Elmo. The idea is that human works simply bear testimony to decisions in the hearts of individuals, whether to follow righteousness or wickedness. John presented 4 witnesses that affirmed his claims: John the Baptist, his own works, the Father, and the Scriptures. The Jews were tied to the legacy of the great The Jews will... I don't know. I can't talk. The Jews were tied to the legacy of the great lawgiver Moses, which we haven't gotten to that point yet, but I'm just going to keep reading. Jesus affirmed that Moses wrote Scripture, and these verses were critically important to affirming Jesus' view of Scripture. He believed that Moses wrote the Pentateuch. Either he was wrong, or he accommodated himself to the Jewish tradition, or he was correct in affirming the Mosaic authorship of the Torah. The latter, of course, is the only option consistent with his deity. And that's what my Bible says.
Perfect.
My study Bible. So when it's like, you didn't read it on your own, like, it really didn't give much information. It didn't break it down. In other chapters, it breaks it down very well. This particular chapter, my study Bible did not break it down very well in a way that my baby brain can understand.
Well, in this section, so verses 31 through 40, it talked about the 4 witnesses, because that's where we're at right now in our reading. So we have John the Baptist's testimony, miraculous works the Father has given him, and then the Father's own voice and works and the Scriptures themselves. Those are the 4 points of testimony.
See, okay,
or witnesses.
That's where most of the time my study Bible has it broken down in little sections for me, and it will give each section kind of a name. It doesn't do that. In this chapter, It's just called Jesus and Jewish Festivals for chapters 1 or 5 through 10, basically. And then they call chapter 5 Healing the Paralytic and Imitating the Father. Whereas if I go on my little Holy Bible app, it doesn't say the 4 witnesses, but it says witnesses to Jesus. So if I had read it on my phone, which is one of the times I'd gone back and read it, I read it while I was putting the little one in bed, and then came back and wrote my questions down.
So point being, though, when you're reading scripture, those things can be helpful.
Yeah.
Using all the tools and the things. And even like you did, you went from one translation or one writing interpretation to another.
Oh,
and
well,
that's
see,
also helpful.
My Bible app on my phone, it's still CSB. It just has different names for sections.
Yeah. But even looking at that, obviously, can
if
help
I had
in different ways.
It said that. It didn't help me that I didn't remember. But
yeah.
Because when I went back to write my notes, I was looking at my physical Bible, not my Bible app, which I was reading, waiting for the little one to fall asleep.
Yeah. So the 4 witnesses.
Yes.
We've talked about those. That goes all the way through verse 40.
Yeah, that's pretty much the rest of the chapter. So, okay, it starts at verse 31, right?
Mm-hmm.
The witnesses. So I'm just going to read this whole section because we haven't read all of it yet.
Okay.
Okay, so let me back up. Backing up. Verse 31. If I testify about myself, my testimony is not true. There is another who testifies about me, and I know that the testimony he gives about me is true. You sent messengers to John, and he testified to the truth. I don't receive human testimony, but I say these things so that you may be saved. John was a burning and shining lamp, and you were willing to rejoice for a little while in his light. You were willing to rejoice for a while in his light. But I have a greater testimony than John's because of the works that the Father has given me to accomplish. These very works I am doing testify about me that the Father has sent me. The Father who sent me has himself testified about me. You have not heard his voice at any time, and you haven't seen his form. You don't have his word residing in you because you don't believe the one he sent. You pore over the scriptures because you think you have eternal life in them, and yet they testify about me, but you are not willing to come to me so that you may have life. Is that the end of it?
That's the end of that. Yeah, that would be that section. Yeah.
Okay, so
about the fourfold.
I mean, obviously, like we said, he's talking about John the Baptist, and that's clear. But what is this? I don't receive human testimony. Still don't understand what that means.
Unless it just means like man in general. Like I'm not looking for man in general for their
approval.
Okay.
And then it goes on to say, like, he says these things so that you may be saved. So he's trying to hammer home again that, like, he's here to help them, but nobody wants to believe him. And then he says, John was a burning and shining lamp, and you were willing to rejoice for a while in his light. Has John died at this point? Because he said John was.
He may have. I don't know where this is, chronologically.
But yeah, I kind of read this as John was emphatically all about Jesus and trying to further him in his ministry. And y'all were willing to accept it for a little bit, but then it got to be too much. Maybe I'm not interpreting that correctly.
Well, then, because remember John the Baptist said, I must decrease and he must increase.
Yes.
So he knew his role. Like he had to become less. And so what does that mean? I don't know. But eventually we know he was arrested and then beheaded. So was he reducing his ministry? Like, did he not do as much? Did he do more pointing people to Jesus? Because he make straight the
way to the Lord.
That's the one. Yep.
Yes.
Preparing the way. He was all about preparing the way. Well, then when Jesus is there, he doesn't need to prepare the way anymore. And in fact, he kind of has to get out of the way.
See, I still go back to why wouldn't you just become one of his disciples?
But would people follow him because of who he had been?
I don't know.
And not follow Jesus because of who he is? Because even some of John's disciples began to follow Jesus.
Anyway, he goes on to say he has greater testimony than John's because of the works that he has done, basically. So John's testimony was nice and helpful, but it's nothing compared to the actual works and miracles that he has performed, which...
Truth.
Obviously. Like, I don't think someone saying, he's a good dude is anywhere equivalent to, oh my gosh, he can walk again, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so these very works I am doing testify about me that the Father has sent me. The Father himself has sent me, or the Father who sent me has himself testified about me. This is another part where I'm confused. You have not heard his voice at any time, and you haven't seen his form. You don't have his word residing in you because you don't believe the one he sent. So I'm assuming that second verse, verse 38, you don't believe the word, you don't have his word residing in you because you don't believe the one he sent, means like you don't have the Holy Spirit within you because you don't believe in me, basically, right?
I mean, I would take that. Yeah.
But okay, so what does this, you have not heard his voice at any time and you haven't seen his form? Or am I, again, making a mountain out of a molehill? Because, as we've discussed, like, you can't look at God. I mean, I guess you could hear his voice.
My study Bible says Jesus' affirmation that his hearers had not heard God's voice or seen his form seems to allude to wilderness Israel, which received the law on Mount Sinai without hearing God's voice or seeing his form.
I'm sorry, what? I heard what you said, but it doesn't make sense. I might just be stupid again.
No, I mean, they received the law.
Okay.
They didn't see God.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't hear his voice. Moses did. Moses got all this, brought it down, and he said, here, this is what God said.
Mm-hmm.
Follow this, do this.
But they took it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, so it goes on to say, you pore over the scriptures because you think you have eternal life in them, and yet they testify about me. But you are not willing to come to me so that you may have life. So I interpreted that as, I think I wrote down Nicodemus. You read the book, but have no understanding. And that's basically was Nicodemus. I mean, not necessarily Nicodemus, but kind of a little bit. And that honestly made me think of not any particular person, but like there are a decent number of Christians today who know the Bible, but don't live it. And so you're not actually saved because you don't practice what you preach.
Yeah, you don't take it to heart.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between head knowledge and heart knowledge.
And then verse 40, I just wrote down that they were unwilling to believe.
Absolutely. So I have it underlined way before we start doing this, but that you pore over the scriptures because you think you have eternal life in them, yet they testify about me. Yeah.
Ferocious head bobbing over here. I also had that highlighted in blue from, I'm assuming, our fall class in the fall. Unless maybe there was a reason the book specifically pointed that verse out.
I don't know. But
I don't know.
I think it is an important, I'm not huge on like, let's just take this one out and we'll just know this one. But Jesus is saying this, like, you can pore over, you can know that you know that you know the scriptures, but it means nothing if you don't come to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the scriptures are important and they're holy and God gave them to us. This is his word, but it's still not relationship.
Right.
This is all about who God is, but there's a difference between knowing about who God is and knowing him.
Mm-hmm. I think, now that I think about it, I think the reason I personally highlighted this verse is because it related to me, or not that it related to me, but it resonated with me a year ago with some of what I've dealt with.
Uh-huh.
I think it's very important. Like verse 39, like, yeah, you don't want to cherry pick. Like, you need the full picture. But even as a standalone verse, it's very clear what he's saying.
Uh-huh.
Read and read and read all day long. But if all you're reading is reading to read, but you don't have that relationship, like, it means nothing.
Yeah.
Which I could say is something I kind of struggle with. I think I've gotten better at it. But I am when it comes to this stuff, I like the facts. I like the extra knowledge. I like the background info, the context, whatever you want to call it. And I can have all of that, and that's great. But if I don't have that relationship with Jesus and with God, like, it doesn't mean diddly squat.
Yeah.
And I think for me, for so long, that was part of what was missing, was I couldn't have that relationship because I didn't have enough information for myself to feel satisfied enough to pursue that relationship, maybe. you know? And so
Mhm.
it felt disingenuous. Is that a word? Did I make
Mhm.
that up? Okay.
No. No.
Good word for me. It felt
I heard this word one time.
I might have made that up. Who knows? Um, it felt disingenuous that I was trying to have a relationship when I didn't really understand it well enough to have that relationship. But that's where my brain was, and I'm sure that it's not like that for everyone. But it is nice to see, like, okay, I feel like since the last time we've read this, like I have grown and I do have not perfect relationship. It's still very much hard and a struggle for me, but like I can see the growth a little bit,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I would say even not just a little bit. I mean, it's definitely, and I think on a different perspective, like I've been reading and studying and trying to learn for a long time. And it was this light bulb moment when I was in seminary that I was like, I don't need to have devotional time or personal, reading time or whatever, because literally I'm reading scripture day in and day out for hours on end. And I'm researching and I'm trying to understand. And I'm like, just there's so much information overload. I don't need to have that because I'm doing this every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was this, like I said, light bulb aha moment of I'm doing all the head knowledge part,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not spending time with God and letting Him minister to me.
Right. And I think we've had this discussion before of, was it Life Change? Is that the series that we had been doing with John and Acts?
Yes. I don't
Right.
know how you
Okay.
remember those things. I'm like, yeah, let me get that book real quick.
Someone mentioned the book a couple days ago, I think. My memory is not that good. It's because it recently got brought up. um, but they definitely lean more factual, I would say,
Yeah.
in the information that they contain and what it's asking you to study and look for. And I would say they're not very like, how does this make you feel? Reflect. Whereas I, within the last year or so, also bought, I have only completed one of these, but I have like 7 of them downstairs. The Daily Grace study Bible, or not study Bible, study guides.
Mm-hmm.
I have one on motherhood and Job and basically the meta narrative. It's like a 4-piece book. Like I have a bunch of them downstairs, and they lean way, way, way on the reflection side of things. And I was like, I think part of the reason I haven't finished any of them other than Ruth was because they don't really provide much fact. And I like the fact. And so I am that person, like, I need a nice, healthy mixture of reinforcing that, hey, you need that relationship, but you're the type of person who also needs information.
Yeah.
And they're like very opposite ends of the spectrum, these 2 books, which the Daily
Mm-hmm.
Grace ones are really good. And I think it has been a help with my relationship. It's just I still need facts, which is where I would end up harassing you constantly to get those facts. And here we are in the podcast. So,
Well, and I think I agree with you in that with the Life Change series being factual. And to me, factual is safe because it's a correct answer. It's yes or no. It's right or wrong. I don't have to put myself out there too much and share feelings because that's not really
feelings
who
are
I am
hard.
either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And I'm not that touchy-feely type person too much. I've gotten better, but
Okay.
hey, I'm more than you,
I was
but
going to
I'm
say,
not.
compared to me, you are like a Care Bear. And I'm over here like, but
But
anyway.
I'm not like super emotional. I don't get like caught up in crying over things and yeah.
I do. I do.
So
Heidi will
funny.
text me. I'll send her something. I'll be like, "What do you think of this blanket? I worked really hard on it. I hope you like it." And she's like, "It looks great." And I'm like, "She hated it." My brain just like gives up. It's like, "She hates me." Ah. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but there's a lot apparently.
I told you quit reading into things that are not there.
Why do you think I'm sitting here struggling to get through this? It's because I'm reading into things that are not there. All right, continuing. Last little section, guys. We're almost there. What is this? What is the... Because my Bible, again, does not give this a title.
I
my
exited
Bible,
out of that.
my Holy Bible app does not give this a title. Anyways, continuing. Verse 41, I do not accept glory from people, but I know you, that you have no love for God within you. I have come in my Father's name, and yet you don't accept me. If someone else comes in his own name, you will accept him. How can you believe, since you accept glory from one another, but don't seek the glory that comes from the only God? Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. Your accuser is Moses, on whom you have set your hope. For if you believed Moses, you would believe in me, because he wrote about me. But if you don't believe what he wrote, how will you believe my words? And that is the end of chapter 5. So I don't accept glory from people.
We shouldn't either, but we want it.
Is that basically just saying, like, pat on the back? Pat on the bat. Pat on the back. Pat. Back.
I mean, that's kind of right. Like when I think of it as, okay, so I do not accept glory from men. I don't need your approval. I don't need your accolades. I'm not looking for that kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's such a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
At least, like, I don't want to say at least for me, because I know everyone, no matter how much you say, I don't care about other people's opinions. Bah humbug. To some extent, yes, you do.
Yeah.
That's just the society that we live in. We all seek approval from someone.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you, that you have no love for God within you. I have come in my Father's name, and yet you don't accept me. If someone else comes in his own name, you will accept him. So I think we go back to, he knows the hearts of men, knows that they're selfish little buttholes. But that you have no love for God within you. And that's where I guess I was confused, because, like, yeah, I'm sure there are some religious leaders who are in it completely for the wrong reason. They're completely selfish. They just want power. They just want accolades. They just want me, 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 me. You know, they want the power that comes with being a religious leader of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people today who are like that as well. They don't truly care about God. But I would say that can't be all of them.
No.
Like, and I go back to, like, in The Chosen, Nicodemus is portrayed as this really old but revered teacher, and he goes to bat against some of the other Pharisees, and he's like, he calls a few of them out, and he's like, you only care about yourself. You only care about your position. Like, you don't actually care about God. You're putting God in a box. You're saying that God can and can't do things. Who are you to say and put God in a box? And so it's like, when he says that you have no love for God within you, I'm just like, it just feels like it's like a big assumption to make. Like, I know that whatever he's saying is true because he's Jesus, but I would think they loved God, just not in the way that they should. I don't know. What's your opinion? You haven't said anything in a while. Speak.
It's this, we can't know their heart, right? And that's what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Did they love God? I don't know. Did they portray it? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot, and in their whole lives, the leaders in the church, yes, they this is how you do it. We're showing you we love God, and we'll read it to you, and we'll show you, and we'll tell you, and whatever. But did they truly, or were they just enjoying the accolades of, and the recognition and the praise of men because of the position they had?
Right. Well, and it says, if someone else comes in his own name, you will accept him. What is that referring? Is that just saying, if you have another Pharisee come up and he's like, I'm a good Pharisee, I'm a good teacher, praise me, give me a raise, promote me, whatever, they're like, good job, pat, pat, or what? Am I misreading that too?
Well, my study Bible says Jesus predicted the proliferation of false Christs as a sign of the end times. And that's from Matthew 24, verse 5. The first century Jewish historian Josephus reported a string of messianic presenters in the years before AD 70. So he wrote this, but then when John was writing this, like, Jesus said it, John's writing it. So Jesus is saying, like, people are going to come and they're going to say whatever they want and you're going to accept them, but I am truly who is the Messiah and you're not accepting me.
Yeah. And then he goes on to say, how can you believe since you accept glory from one another, but don't seek the glory that comes from the only God? Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. Your accuser is Moses, on whom you have set your hope. So I'm assuming this is going back to all you care about is the law.
Yeah.
You don't actually care about following God. You're just taking the law way too far.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the law, and then the last two verses, for if you believed Moses, you would believe me because he wrote about me. But if you don't believe what he wrote, how will you believe my words?
I like that.
I wrote this down a year ago.
Okay.
They believe what is written in the Old Testament, but not the prophecies being fulfilled right in front of them.
Truth.
Mic drop.
That's right.
Me.
Love it.
And
but
that
it's
was
true.
it.
Like and what Jesus is saying, for if you believed Moses, so you say you believe Moses, but do you really? Because Moses pointed to me and you're not believing me. And I'm showing you all the things and I'm telling you, and you're not believing me.
Well, and it literally all ties into verse 39 of you pour over the scriptures because you believe you have eternal life in them, but they testify about me.
Yeah. And you're not listening. You're not reading. You're not understanding.
It definitely makes me think they were cherry pickers too. They were like, I like this verse and I like that verse and I think this will benefit me, but they don't like take the whole picture and be like, there he is.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And that's one of the things, like, I've said before, well, you have to keep reading. Well, you have to check that. You have to, because we can't continually take a microscopic view of everything. We have to like zoom out and do a telescopic view, right? Of like things are far away.
Right.
Look at it at the big picture.
In the helicopter.
Yeah. We'll be in the helicopter and we'll look out.
That was funny. Last week, you were like, we're hovering above. I was like, helicopter or plane? You're like, we're hovering above. Helicopter it is. You were like, okay, whatever.
So, but you have to take it as a whole. And that's what Jesus is saying is like, Moses tried to tell you all these things. He wrote all this stuff down. You say you believe it. He wrote about me. I'm here. You don't believe. Period. So if they weren't mad before, they're really mad now.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it because he keeps saying things that would get under their skin. And then he makes them, I bet part of the problem is he calls them out and they get angry because he's right.
Yeah. Yes.
Because don't we all love when you realize that you're wrong?
Yeah.
But that never happens to me. My husband and I get into a fight and I'm always the right one.
Good.
Just kidding. He's the calm, rational one. I'm always wrong. It irritates me to no end. The number of times I've been like, why are you always right? He's just like, I don't know. Why can't I be right for once?
No. So then we take all this and we go back to our helicopter and we look at it all and we go, okay, what does that mean today? So we've looked at who wrote it and the people who are receiving the words and how do we put that into action into our lives? What are your thoughts?
I feel bad because I'm like, I was listening, but I wasn't comprehending. Because I'm like,
oh, wait,
done.
What does it say? You were poring over the scriptures? Because
I know, I just wasn't listening to you. No, you were asking how it applies to us today. I think that's what you said.
Yeah, like we've looked at all of this and, we understand who wrote it and the audience who was receiving it at the time. And we understand who Jesus was talking to when he was saying these things. So now we take all of that understanding. We say, What does that mean for me today?
Mm,
I think we've kind of already hit on it, honestly.
yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it's basically what we talked about with the Bible study stuff of you can have all the information, you can have all the knowledge, but unless you have that relationship, it means nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that's basically, to me, that would be it. And I think it also goes back to, and if you're offended by this, sorry, not sorry, if all you do is go to church, if all you
Yeah.
do is listen to this podcast and expect it to solve all your problems, then too bad, so sad. But yeah, I mean, like, too bad. You can have and listen to all the knowledge, but if you don't have that relationship, if you don't put in effort yourself, it means nothing.
Yeah.
And so I think I personally, I feel like I'm at that point where I get a little irritated with the idea of, oh, we only go to church on Christmas for service. We only go to the candlelight service. We only go on Easter. Like, the big holidays is when we go. We make no effort to go any other time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my life growing up.
Mm-hmm.
We only went on the big holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say it, and if they get mad, they get mad. I don't care. I feel like that was a huge part of my problem. There was no consistency, and it felt like it was like, if this means so much, but we never go unless I'm with other members of my family who do go more frequently and very rarely miss. This can't mean as much as you say it does because you don't make the effort to do it.
Right.
And again, if that makes you mad, then okay. But I do think it was hard for me to accept any of this when it wasn't given priority.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll be honest, every single Sunday I'm like, oh, I don't want to go. I'm so tired. Last night, okay, so we're recording on a Sunday right now. It is almost 4 p.m. We went to church today after I spent all night, starting at 11 o'clock. I hadn't even gone to bed yet. My child has had a cough, and I spent all night getting my hair pulled. He's a horrendous hair puller. It's like his lovey, his comfort thing is my hair. And he pulls very hard. He punches, he kicks, he slaps, he pokes in my eyes. Like, he flops all night. And so he stayed in bed with me last night because he didn't feel good. He just, congestion, couldn't sleep. Get it. We still went to church. He was not sick, like contagious. He just, congestion. I did not want to go to church today. It's cold. It's windy.
Mm-hmm.
Jaycee does not like the cold. Jaycee does not like not getting sleep. But we still went. And it felt good to go.
Yeah.
And every single Sunday, my husband and I have talked about it, that we think we've cracked the code. The reason that it's always so hard to get the boys out of the house on Sunday is because the enemy doesn't want you to go.
Of course.
And so that's why it's always so hard to go on Sundays, to get out of the house on a Sunday, is because he doesn't want you to go. He doesn't want your relationship to be furthered. And so he makes your children act like hellions. He makes them sick. Just kidding. But you know what I mean. And so, yeah, it's that even when I really, and I'm not tooting my own horn here, it's just we've made that conscious effort of, even if we don't feel like it, like, we will be going. And then it's kind of like we talked about last week of, you're mentally exhausted and then you go and it's a refresher and you feel better. You're glad you went.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of me is still struggling with the anger of feeling like I could be so much further than where I am now if I had been provided a little bit of consistency growing up.
Yeah.
And that's not to be negative towards my family. Like, I know that they probably did the best that they could. I don't know. I'm still working through a lot of that.
Yeah.
You know my story. I'm not going to get into it.
Things that we say and we share hopefully can, we want to bring change. So maybe it will. Maybe it will bring some
I want
change.
my boys to grow up with the consistency, and I I just don't want them to experience the level of doubt that I have and then feel like they have so much catching up to do. Not that I'm old. Like, I joke that I'm old. But, like, I'm not actually that old. But I feel like there's this girl in my Bible study that just finished, and she's very young, but she has so much knowledge, and she's so well spoken about it, and she's just one of those people, like, when she starts talking, everybody stops to listen because she always has something good to say and good to add to the conversation. And I'm like, other than sarcastic comments, I don't feel like I have much to offer, you know?
Yeah.
So I just wish I could have been further along, but it's fine. Like, my boys are young enough that hopefully they won't ever remember me as not being who I am now.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. You know, I don't know.
They're getting it. They are definitely getting it. And
I forgot to tell you the other day, we'll end on this positive, cute little note. The other day, my boys and I were out walking the neighborhood. They were on their bikes. They love their little Strider bikes. Even the little one. The little one's not even 2 yet, and he zooms. He's fast. He's my little daredevil. And we're down on the other street on our neighborhood. The bottom one, you know.
Uh-huh.
And there's this house that has a blow-up nativity out, and it's literally just Jesus, like baby Jesus, Mary, Joseph, and like a donkey that's looks like it's dead because it doesn't lay properly. But my little one, he went, Jesus.
Aww.
I was like, oh my gosh. Like, he's really starting to talk and everything. And I was like, he said, Jesus. And I told my husband, he's like, yeah, he knows who Jesus is. And I was like, okay, cool. We're doing good, I guess.
Yes.
He's got, I think, 3 or 4 Bibles in his room.
Oh.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's one of them that he gets every night. His little, my favorite storybook Bible, I think is the name of it. And he goes, Bible? And that's one of the ones we read almost every single night without fail.
Yeah.
So.
And I love that. I love that for you because it's redeeming some of the things that, you know, you maybe not, you know, you didn't have necessarily. Maybe you did. But even getting that abridged version.
Oh, yeah. I joke all the time that my older one's Bible that he has in his bedroom dumbs it down for me where I actually understand some of these stories. I mean, it's like, oh, I didn't get it. I need to read the books that are meant for 4-year-olds. Then it will make sense.
They're good. Some of them are really good.
It is a really good one. You were there when I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a good one. I would recommend it. I can't remember what it's called. Is it the Jesus Storybook Bible? Something like that?
I don't know.
Something. Anyway, yep, that's it. That's all for chapter 5. Next week we'll be on chapter 6. Chapter 6 is, hold on one second. Hold on just one little second. 71 verses.
Oh my gosh. That's fabulous. I think we're going to have to like work through that one.
There
a little
is
faster.
No. It's going to have to be a 2-parter. There's no way.
Okay. 2 parts.
There's no way we're going to get through chapter 6 in one setting without it being a 4-hour episode.
Okay.
So
2 it is.
2 it is.
Hey.
So just be prepared that, yeah, chapter 6 will be a 2-parter. Unless you really want to listen to us for 4 hours. But I doubt it. Because my brain has given up a long time ago today. So I don't think y'all want to listen to that. Anyway, so yeah, just my normal spiel at the very end. If y'all like this show, please leave us a review. Please comment. Please share us with your friends. It would make me so happy every time I see that we have a comment, which we've only had 4 and 2 of them are me. It makes me very happy. Well, I
Yay.
take that back. 3 of them are other people, and then 1 was me responding to somebody. Anyway, it does. It makes me
Yay.
happy to see that, which I'm not very good at the social medias.
We'll
In my
get there.
personal life or on this. So there's not a
Yeah.
whole lot of posting, but maybe we should be more better.
We'll get
knows?
there. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. My brain's given up. It's time to go. We'll see y'all next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.